Okay, so what did Ahsoka learn? What was Anakin trying to teach Ahsoka within the world between worlds and within the visions of the past? Well, let's rewind. So, he tells her, "Do you want to live?" I said he tells her. He asks her, "Do you want to live?" If I'm correct, that's the first thing he says. Then they begin to fight. Then she, I guess you could say, bests him with the kick. Not really. She gets lick in, if you really want to take it like that. Because some people are like, oh my gosh, why are they trying to act like Ahsoka can take out Anakin? They're not. If anything, they're showing just how powerful Anakin is. It takes them fighting for a good minute before she can even land in one kick. And she has that smart aleck in her that she learned from Anakin and Obi-Wan, where she's just like, I guess you have nothing else to teach me or something like that. And then he slices the bridge. They fall into a dream. In this dream, he takes her back to the war. See, that's the thing. Now we see, when you're looking at it as a cool cartoon, they touch on the emotional parts in Clone Wars, but seeing it in live action and casting a little girl to play Ahsoka, it reminds you, that's right. Ahsoka is a little human being. Well, not a human being. She's a Togruta, but she is a little person, a young person. That's the word I'm trying to say. Jeebus. She is a young person. She is not old. She is not that mature. She's maybe mature in her thinking, but like she's experiencing death. He needs to take her back to that. Remind her, say, Snips, I understand you've been seeing death your whole life. You need to remember why we fight, why the death is here. Experience these emotions. Don't run from them, but you have to keep pushing through. So, while she's sad about the clones dying and her actually having emotions, even though they're clones, she cares for them. Because that's how they looked at the clones. They connected to them. They didn't just look at them like, oh, they're just another flesh and tissue copy of the last flesh and tissue copy. No, these are my war buddies, and my decisions got them killed. But he tells her, we must keep going. There's more coming. This is the beginning of his lesson. Ahsoka, you've been through so much, but you're starting to lose your will to fight. See, again, character progression. We didn't go the typical way, like where you have the hero, the reluctant hero who doesn't want to fight anymore, and it takes somebody pushing them along the way, like they did with Luke, where he's getting old and chilling on the side of a mountain, drinking milk and throwing lightsabers into the ocean. No, we see Ahsoka still trying. She's still fighting. But there's been little hints that she's not really trying to fight that hard. In my opinion, I think that's why she didn't train Grogu. She saw the darkness kind of already, the confliction in him. She's not trying to deal with that. She's not trying to deal with the whole emotional toil and losing someone else to the dark side. We see the same thing with Sabine. She's trying to train Sabine, but Sabine's stubbornness and stuff, she kind of disconnects. She's not that, she's a decent teacher, but she's not at the same time. Because look at what Obi-Wan had to deal with. He had to deal with Anakin's emotional behind. And, I mean, Obi-Wan ultimately, as has been stated before, and I recently learned this through watching, like, Star Wars Theories channel and hearing about what George Lucas said, but even George felt like it's Obi-Wan's fault that Anakin fell to the dark side. But at least Obi-Wan tried and kept pursuing, even while dealing with an emotionally filled Padawan. Ahsoka can barely handle Sabine. She's kind of getting annoyed with her. She tries to tune in with her and gets a little bit better, but then, like, you could tell that Thrive. She's lost her way with the Jedi, which is blocking her from fully connecting, I think, to the good side of the Force. Because as the embodiment of the daughter, what happens at the end of this episode probably should have been happened to Ahsoka. But anyway, we then have, fast forward, skipping all the Hera and Jason scenes, which are really cool, but, getting back to what we're here for. Their next battle is the Siege of Mandalore. And the Siege of Mandalore, he's like, I don't recognize this battle. She's like, yeah, this happened after we'd already parted ways. She's kind of saying it with a little salt. He's like, well, you did good. And, she's still just kind of frustrated and angry with him. And he's like, you're part of something bigger. She's like, no, I'm just a part of death and war. And he's just like, no, you're more than that because I'm more than that. Like, you came from me, essentially. You're almost like a daughter to me. Like, you're part of my lineage, my bloodline through the Force, if you will. You're more than that because I'm more than that. And she's like, you are more than that. Remember you killing younglings? Remember you going through and taking over the galaxy and killing thousands and millions of people? Remember that, Vader? That's basically how she came at him. And he's like, oh, this is what this is about? Oh, you want to talk about it? You want to talk about it? So then he taps into his dark side and he fights her. And I think the importance of this is how I took it, is that he's trying to get Ahsoka to realize, hey, again, you are caught up in the emotions, the struggle, the loss. You lost your master to the dark side. Well, guess what? We're past that now. Now your master is here. Who he died as a hero, and through the Force, he is now the balance. Anakin fulfilled his destiny. He is the balance of the Force. He taps into good and dark inside this world between worlds spiritual dimension. But you're still kind of caught in the past, letting that slow you down. You're still stuck in the hurt. You're still stuck in what happened. You're not necessarily just giving up. And I think that's important because in life we have people who, yes, you have some people who give up and just won't do nothing. Maybe they'll just be sitting there, they're sad. Maybe they'll drink or smoke their life away. They don't care anymore. They give up. But that's not all the time how giving up looks like. Sometimes you have people who keep persevering, keep pushing through, but mentally they're drained and they have no more joy. Like she straight up tells him, like he makes a joke and she's like, are you joking right now? He's like, yes, I'm joking. What do you want me to do? You want me to be serious? I'm trying to teach you how to survive. That's important. Because sometimes in life we see so much darkness around us, we don't know how to enjoy anything anymore. We don't know how to make jokes. We don't know how to survive, push through. Part of surviving is not just your skills in living, it's also emotional and spiritual surviving. Being able to share some jokes and laughter, being able to keep pushing through to the end. And that's what he was trying to tell her. So then he begins to fight her. He was like, you're not getting it. So let's start from the beginning. Let me fight you until you're about to die because I got to tap into my full dark side self that you cannot handle. And that's how I'll get you to realize, no, you do want to fight. Do you want to fight or not? Because you're playing around and you're too old for this, basically. So they begin to fight, and a lot of people probably have this issue with like, well, why does she best Anakin? I hope a lot of people don't have this issue. I'm saying a lot of people. I hope a lot of people don't have this issue. It is clearly that Anakin was pushing her to the limit. He could destroy her if he wanted to. That's not the point. It's not an actual battle. He is pushing her. It is the same like when Kanan, dang, that just hit me. It's just like in Rebels when Kanan pushes Sabine emotionally and she finally starts besting him, quote unquote, while she's speaking emotionally about her family. Sabine can't take on Kanan. Kanan held with the Force an entire explosion that was big enough to wipe out an entire fuel depot. He can't, or it tried to. She can't take out Kanan. The point of that was he got her to see herself and get that fire out. That's what he was doing with Ahsoka. He's getting that fire out because Ahsoka's fire is starting to die down. We see this when she's fighting Baylan. She is emotionally taken. She thinks Sabine is dead. She's not even really in the fight the whole time. She's shaken by Baylan just talking about, is that why you abandoned your master? She was shaken from that point in the fight. She tried to act like she wasn't, but she was starting to struggle. And she probably could have taken him on. She was trained by the great, yes, Baylan ain't no joke, don't get me wrong, but she was trained by the greatest Jedi at that time. Arguably, in my head, Anakin was one of the greatest Jedi of his time. Up there would be those of Obi-Wan, the likes of Obi-Wan, and like Mace Windu. But Anakin was pretty powerful and skillful with a lightsaber. He held his own with Dooku and killed him. She's pretty strong. She should have been able to take him out. I don't know who his master is. Hopefully we'll know who his master is. She should have been able to take him out, in my opinion. But she struggled a bit. And then she got hit emotionally again and again, and she did not handle her own, and that's how she died. When she does see Sabine, now it's time to tell Sabine, destroy it. And she, after she's already force choked and thrown Shin into a rock, she's emotionally taken. She should have used that energy on Baylan right in front of her, but she's blinded by her frustration of, did you just kill Sabine? So when we get to Anakin, what he's trying to teach her is, It's okay to have emotion, but use it to further yourself in a fight, not to be overwhelmed with it. Anakin would know, as he lost his whole life and future ahead of him from being overwhelmed by emotion and getting played by Palpatine, by Sidious. He was played by Sidious on his emotion. He knows all too well about being played or being blinded by your emotion versus letting your emotion fuel you. It's okay to let your emotion fuel you. You're not supposed to, I think that was the issue with some Jedis. They felt like you wasn't supposed to let your emotions control you. But no, that's emotions controlling you or having a good part in you. Yeah, well, I guess they're correct. You don't let the emotions control you, but you do use the emotions. You do utilize that. And I think that's what he was trying to get out of her. Do you want to fight or not? Stop playing around with it. So she dodges his hits at the very end, just like she did with Darth Maul, something she's been known to be good at, something she learned from Anakin. And she stops his saber and takes it from him. And she twists his arm in a very similar way that we just saw Anakin do to her a few moments before in one of their flashbacks. Another move she learned from Anakin. He lets her. He needed her to prove to herself she can do it. He's not really trying to kill her. If so, he could have force choked her right there. He could have force pushed her straight off of the cliff. He could have probably just stopped her saber and taken it down and the crystal, unignite the crystal, just like the father did to Anakin in Clone Wars. But he let her best him to show her, hey, and she has skills, don't get me wrong, but to show her, hey, you got fight in you. Let that emotion in you push you to the fight. And then finally we see Rosario Dawson's emotion kick in when she says, I want to live. And she gave that black woman face with emotions. Black man, you know what I'm talking about. She hit that. But I think that's funny because a lot of people keep saying, well, this show don't have a lot of emotions. It's done purposefully. As we now see, Ahsoka is blinding her own emotions, kind of. She's sitting in a lot of things, frustration. She's just kind of living life out dull. She's trying to hide her emotions that she's filled with. Her scares, her frustrations, her hurt. She's trying to hide all that, but she's filled with them. She needs to stop letting them control her life and control those emotions, but utilize them, bring them out. And that's why we see the switch of her attitude then kick into full gear. Then he's like, there's hope in you yet. And he gave that typical Hayden Christensen smirk, Anakin smirk. Then she appears in the water. And actually the water starts to fill up, and I think that's important too, because this gives the imagery of like a baptism. And as a Christian, baptisms, if you don't fully know, they're the symbolic sign of you being born again into this new life, into this new spiritual identity, if you will, as Christ enters your heart. Well, Ahsoka has been born again under the understanding of what she needs to do in life, how she should live life, who she is, and having resolution with her master. So as she comes up out of the water, we get the subtle hints of what everyone's been teasing, talking about Ahsoka the White. Just like Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Grey, then Gandalf the White. We get the subtle hints of it. It's not a physical appearance because it's not necessary. It's a subtlety. We do see her attitude has more joy in it. She's just kind of filled with more hope. Even in her despair moments and her frustration and her saying, I will find Sabine. She has such a hopeful filled attitude. Then she has the white garment wrapped around her, which is cool. And this girl shows that she's unlocked so many more powers now. That's going to be for another video. Thank you all once again for joining my channel, Worlds Within Worlds. No, it was not named after World Between Worlds, but that's a cool coincidence. Anyway, thank y'all so much for joining. Thank y'all so much for constantly supporting. I will definitely see you all soon with a new video. God bless you and take care.